the default keyboard shortcut for any of the tools, hover over them, and you'll see a little tooltip that tells you the name of the tool and its shortcut key, which in this case R, E, and I believe gradient is L, yeah, and paintbrush or paint bucket is Shift B, text is T. And a lot of programs use T for text. I don't know why this one uses A, but T is the shortcut, not A. Anyway, gradient fills your selection with a gradient, obviously. Here, let's actually delete everything. And we should go ahead and delete that layer too. Alright. Now, what this is whatever color is in your foreground color palette will be the color that you click on. For example, we click here and we pull down. That means red's going to start here and it's going to go to black. It's going to gradient its way into black. And so if we click at the bottom and red's in our foreground, then the red's going to be at the bottom and black's going to be at the top. Same thing with left and right. Left's going to be red, and in this case, right's going to be red. Switching these around obviously reverses the effect. Now there's another thing you can do over here in your gradients dialog, this little tab right here. Excuse me. You'll have an option. Actually, no. Go right here in your tool options, and it'll say blend. It doesn't say gradient, it says blend. Go down here to where it says gradient. Click this open, and there's one right here that says foreground to transparent. It should be right underneath the one that's already selected. If you click that, it's kind of neat because you can actually, instead of going from red to black, you go from red to transparent. So you can actually leave the original, whatever's there on the image right now, you can leave it there and just kind of shade it with the new stuff without overwriting the existing stuff, if that makes any sense at all. And you'll see a lot of use for this when you start creating like images for web pages or stuff like that. You can actually, a lot of the glossy effects that people use, they use the foreground color to transparent. For example, we'll hit Shift B, hit Control or Control Shift, fill that in with black, and then hit L to go back to gradient, and we will switch this to white. And as you can see, we'll stop right about here. That's kind of like, I don't know how well you're able to see that. That's kind of like how they make a lot of the buttons on the web pages. Now see, even if the background color was red, instead of writing white to red, if you got transparent selected, foreground to transparent, it'll write white to nothing, white to transparent. So that comes in really handy. And if you want to do solid colors, you can go right back to the old option, which is foreground to background, RGB. But I don't think I hardly ever use that. Alright, another one is the pencil. The pencil's kind of nice because, let me select this. I said delete everything. Alright, let me fill this in real quick. Alright, the pencil allows you to create little points. And I've got to change my foreground color. Now, another thing of the pencil is, for example, you click here, it's kind of like a mix between the pen and the paintbrush. You click here, and you can actually hit Shift and draw a straight line by clicking somewhere else. And if you hit Control, for example, as you can see right now, our foreground color is black. If you hit Control with the pencil and click, it changes the foreground color to the color you click on. It's kind of nice when you're actually editing photos and you're trying to edit well, you're trying to blend things in. For example, some photos they'll have damaged, and when you import them from your camera, you'll open them up and they'll be damaged, and you'll see a strange little line cutting across the photo, and it's not a solid color. It's the colors of the original photo, but they've been damaged somehow. Well, you can actually zoom really far in on the photo, and then hit Control click to click a color really close to what that one should be, and then go down and click on the bad color, and you can do that to patch your entire photo. And I don't have a bad photo on me, but maybe in a later article I might show you how to patch bad photos, corrupted images. And it's not always foolproof. I've had a couple of them I could not, actually I've had one that I never could fix, and pissed me off because I drew it by hand and scanned it to the computer. But alright, so that colors pencil. The paintbrush is a little bit different. The paintbrush is it's like a pencil, but it's softer, unless you choose the hard option. And the brush, if you click on brush, it actually opens this dialog right here, this little area. It actually opens it in just a small little window. And the paintbrush, one thing you'll notice when you get to working with images a lot, is the paintbrush can be used with anything. These brushes can be used with your paintbrush, with your pencil, with your eraser. They can be used with a lot of different tools, and you'll wind up sometimes making a default or your own custom brush sizes. For example, I do a lot of work with a lot of large images, and so sometimes I might want to apply a certain shade to the entire image, but for some reason I got to use a brush. Well, the biggest brush size I believe is only like 27 pixels. You can go down here to create new, and it should be just looks like a blank page with a star on it, and then you can adjust the type of brush you want. For example, shape, we're going to leave it circle, and then hardness, well, here let's radius. And the radius is kind of for those of you who are new to this whole concept, radius is half the diameter of the brush. So for example, if your radius is 125 pixels, well, your brush is going to be 250 pixels wide plus 1. I don't know why it always adds 1. So if you put a radius of 125, it's going to be 125 times 2 plus 1, so it's going to be 151 or 251. Anyway, right down here where it says hardness, as you can see here, or maybe not, let me try to make this bigger. And it doesn't look any bigger. Well, as you may or not be able to see, that kind of gradients out from the center, and that's a soft brush. Well, if you go down to hardness and drag it all the way over, it makes it a solid circle, so that when you're clicking on stuff, it's there's a hard edge all the way around. And the opposite of that would be obviously the gradient from the center, which is nice when you're using an eraser, that when you're trying to blend stuff in with an eraser or blend stuff in with other tools, that you'll actually want the soft option. And I actually meant to delete that brush. You can create brushes and delete brushes. And another thing you can do, I'm not going to get into on this one because it's a little more advanced, you can create your own patterns as well. And then you just save them in your default patterns directory and load them up. A few of these are patterns that I created. But you have to use the paintbrush to use them though, and then go down here to pattern fill. But anyway, let's see, layers. I believe we should move on to layers. We change these colors back, and that's not what I wanted. There we go. Alright, layers come in handy when you're creating original projects that you want to save, or for one, you don't have to want to edit them later, that you'll need them just to work on a project. And even if you're not working on planning on reopening it and editing it later, it still helps when you're creating the original project. For example, if you want to create, let's actually resize this so you can see a little more detail. We'll make this, I really don't have, let's see, let's try 900 wide. Hell, I could have went bigger than that. Alright, good enough. Alright, Now, actually, let's fill this in with the background color.